welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be using some of the products from the Celebration brochure to create a whole host of different cards. So we're going to be using this Counting Sheep stamp set and the coordinating sheep dies as well. So you can get them each free with a £45 spend until the end of September. So obviously it's £90 spend for the two of them. But it's an amazing set to get for free. So you've got, in the dies, you've got the sheep that cut out the sheep on here. You've got this hat that cuts out that hat. And then you've got the fence, the sun, the clouds, and your little flag. And then you've got a couple of extra sentiments in the grass on the stamp set. So it's a nice little set. This piece of paper is from the Sweet Stockings paper. So I'll just show you that paper pair. So this is the piece that we've used. So you can see it's nice for non-Christmas as well as Christmas. And this one has loads of cute little animals in it with just kind of prints on the other side. So we've got stockings and the prints. I really love that star print. And the animals there with the print on the back. And actually, even if you're not an animal lover, probably most people know an animal lover that will love these anyway, but the prints on the back, just these prints are absolutely gorgeous. So you could always just use these and the stockings and make really cute kind of more traditional Christmas cards as well. So that's a really nice pack. So I'm just using that piece from that pack. So I've got a 5-inch card blank made from the thick Whisper White cardstock, and then I've got this that sits on the top. So that is 4 3/4 inches, and then this one is 3 1/4 inches square, and I'm just going to use that as my central piece. So I'm going to use my blending brush, and I'm going to use Pool Party and Pear Pizzazz ink. I'm just going to take some of the Pool Party because that's my lighter shade, and I'm just going to brush some of that really lightly over the top of this square. And it's good to go on lighter at first, but I think that this is a reasonably dry ink pad. It probably needs a bit of re-inking, so I'm just going over that again. And then I'm going to ink up with a bit of Pear Pizzazz, and that can go on the bottom. And you can see that even though I've got that on here, it's not making any marks. So I'm just going to go over again with the Pool Party at the top. And you can see I'm not going from corner to corner. I'm just creating a bit of an addition of colour as opposed to a kind of corner to corner thing. And this is going to go on here. So this is one of the fences that I've die cut from Cinnamon Cider cardstock. So then I'm just going to stamp one of the sheep. So I think I'm going to stamp this one here. So then I'm just going to stamp this into a scrap of basic white cardstock. So then I'm also going to stamp this So Glad It's Your Birthday. And then a little hat. That's a cute little party hat. And then I thought, because I use my blend so much, I thought it might be nice to today use my watercolour pencils. So this is just the initial pack of watercolour pencils. Then I'm just going to use the basic grey and just add like a little bit of colour around here, just where you can see that it's kind of supposed to be a little bit darker. So I've added a bit of shading for you to kind of show you where it's needed. And then I'm just going to use my aqua painter and just blend some of that out because I want a nice soft line. And because these are watercolour pencils, then you can see that they blend them out a lot. You don't want to use too much water because we're just using basic white cardstock, not like watercolour. But This just makes a nice soft line. And then I'll just colour in his feet with the black. And maybe I'll just shade his face in light grey. And then I think I'll do his hat quite vibrant, so I'm going to use the Melon Rambo and the Pacific Point colours for that. So I'm just going to go and die cut all of those. So I've got all my pieces cut out. So I'm just going to put it together. And look how much lovely detail there is in that fence as well. It's a really nice impression you get on that, because it the die actually die cuts and embosses it for you, so you get the nice wood grain texture on it. So let's just add these to the card front. So I'm just putting some dimensionals on the back of here. And then I'm going to put some more on the back of here. And there's our first little cute card made. So then with this next card, I thought that I would use the die cuts to form a little background. So I've got a Whisper White A6 card blank, so that measures 8 1/4 by 5 7/8 inches, and it's scored and folded in half. And then this piece of Pool Party cardstock is 1/4 inch smaller each way, so that's 5 5/8 by 3 7/8 inches. So I'm just going to add this to the front of my card. And then actually I'm going to stamp my pieces next. So I think I'm going to keep the stamped elements the same for this card as the last one. So I'm going to do a little hat. And I'm going to use the same sheet for this one. I will use some of the others for other cards. This one's just quite a nice standing on his back hooves one. The reason I do my sentiment in a corner is because then you only have to cut 2 sides of it rather than 4, so it's easier to get nice straight even sentiment. So I'm just going to colour these elements in the same way as I did on the last one. So I'm just going to speed through this because you've already seen me do it once. Going to go and cut these elements out. So then I've got clouds and the sun to go in the sky. So I've just cut that down with my scissors into a hill, and I'm just going to use my Pear Pizzazz ink, and then I've got this little grassy piece, and I'm just going to stamp that all over. Just to give a bit of texture to that. So then let's glue all those pieces on. And I'm just going to glue this onto his head, and then I'm going to put it up onto some dimensionals. Then I've decided to give him a little balloon again. I'll pop that in there, and then I'm just going to pop the sentiment up on some dimensionals. That's our next card done. So then for our third card, I really loved this card from the celebration brochure. So I want to use a lot of elements from this. Well, I want to use this kind of background for my card as well. So I'm going to make quite a similar card to this. So this piece is 5 3/8 by 3 5/8 inches. And I've got a thick basic white card blank. And then this piece of crumb cake cardstock is 5 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches. So I'm going to stamp this all over with, so I'm going to use this sheet this time and the hat. So I'm just going to use my Memento ink to stamp that all over. And when I'm doing a background, I always make sure that I stamp off the page as well as all over, just because you want to kind of create a bit of a background that looks like it's a piece of background paper that's been cut up rather than just bits plonked, which won't look as good. And then let's pop on some hats. So then I'm going to use my white pencil to colour in the sheet. I'm going to take my basic grey pencil. I'm just going to lightly colour over the face. And then I'll do it a bit darker for the ears. And then harder for the hooves. And then I'm also just going to add a bit of shading just here where the kind of shading on the stamp just shows you need to add it. I'm going to do that on all the sheet. And then I want to make the hats really colourful, so I'm going to use like all the colours on these. Then now we've got our panel, so I'm going to lay that up on here so you can see I've just done this piece 1/8 of an inch bigger, so you just get this small black outline, which I really like. I think I might add some dimensionals on the back of here. Use these strips from on the outside. Then you'll probably have seen me use this die a few times recently if you follow my channel. And it's from this die, picture this die set here, so you get this one and you get this one. And I've purposefully cut this from an A6 card mat so that I can use this for a different card. But I'm actually going to use one of the circles for this. So I kind of like to look at these as a set of stitched circles as well as this piece here, so it has a lot of different uses. So I've just cut them out of basic black cardstock, and then I'm going to use that same birthday sentiment Then I'm just going to heat emboss it on the biggest of these circles with white embossing powder. So I've stamped it in Versamark ink, then I'm just pouring on my white embossing powder, and then I can just heat it up with my heat tool. So I'm going to have that there. And I thought it'd be nice, I've just got a few little scraps of some of the colours on here. So I've got a bit of Daffodil Delight, a bit of Melon Mambo, and a bit of Bermuda Bay. And I'm just going to cut some little tag ends in those. And I just thought it'd be fun to have those coming out from under here. In fact, I might actually do it like that so that they look a bit like a rosette. Yeah, so I might do that. So I'll just glue those onto the back of here. So I'm just going to pop some dimensionals onto the back of there. And then I think I'll pop that just there. So now you can see that I took an idea from here and I made my own card with it. So for my fourth card, I thought I'd do some more blending. So I've got a DL size card here. So it is 8 1/4 by 7 3/4 inches, scored and folded in half. I'm just going to take my Pool Party ink again. And I'm just going to create a bit of colour on the page. And then I'm just going to take some of the Pear Pizzazz square and just put that towards the bottom of the page. And just like in the other card, I'm not actually kind of covering the cardstock. I'm just creating kind of almost like little patches. And I'm creating 3 little patches because I want to have 3 sheep on here. And I'm just blending them out a little bit so that they don't look quite so patchy. And obviously if I was doing a proper blended black background, I would work on that a lot more because it looks really patchy and a bit odd at the moment. But I think that once we've got the sheep on it, it will look a lot better. So I'm just going to firstly take my Pear Pizzazz and add just a few bits of kind of grass on here. And then I'm just going to stamp 3 of these in my Memento black ink. And then I'm just going to stamp that So Glad It's Your Birthday in black as well. And actually the only stamp that I've not used in this set today is the You're Amazing one. And that's just because I need some birthday cards. But actually we've used every single other stamp in the stamp set. So it's a nice way to get all your stamps inked up. Just doing some party hats, so I'll just colour them with my crayons. I'm just going to take my aqua painter and just blend that out a little bit. And then I'm going to give them each a different colour hat. So then I've cut these pieces out, so I'm just going to add them to my card. So I'm going to glue this on, and then I'm going to pop some dimensionals behind the sheep. So then I'm just going to glue the little hats onto their heads. And I'll just add some little dimensionals behind them. And then I'm just going to have them like jumping across the card. And I hope that now you can see why I've not taken a lot of time on the blending and stuff, because actually it kind of looks really cute without having to take that time. I mean, obviously if you're looking at making a card where the blending is really key, then you're just going to want to go over that much more so you get a much smoother result. I'm really happy with the result that I've got in this. So there's the back card finished. And then finally, so I've got for this card an A6 basic white card blank. Then I've got this piece of basic black cardstock that measures 5 3/8 by 3 5/8. This piece of Daffodil Delight measures 5 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches, so that just fits on there. And then this is just slightly smaller than this, just so that I can kind of pop it on the top, and I've got somewhere to stick these balloons without it interfering with the card. So I'm just going to add this onto here. So I just thought that this was a really nice way of doing the background. I've obviously die cut a load of balloons out of this background. So I've actually die cut 13 balloons out of the background, and then just in Mango Melody, so that it's kind of a bit tonal, I've die cut another 13 balloons. And actually, if you wanted to do a couple of these cards, so you could die cut the balloons out of a piece of Mango Melody that is the same size as this piece of Daffodil Delight, and then you can make 2 cards at once. So you can put the Daffodil Delight ones into the Mango Melody and the Mango Melody into the Daffodil Delight. So then, even though it's a lot of die cutting, you can make 2 cards out of it. I'm just going to make this 1 card for now. So I'm just going through and sticking all of these balloons onto here. So you could obviously just die cut the balloons out of the Mango Melody and glue them on top of the Daffodil Delight paper if you wanted. I like this look of them being kind of almost like one sheet. And I've just got this little yellow piece here that goes in here, so that we don't have quite literally a black hole there. So then I'm just going to turn this over. I'm just going to trim it down in line with the Daffodil Delight cardstock, because the only purpose of the basic black is to stick the balloons onto, so we don't want to trim it in line with that because it's not the right size. In fact, I've cut it a bit smaller just so that it's hidden at the back. I mean, obviously we're going to glue it onto here, but I didn't want to do that first off because otherwise you can't trim it down in line with the yellow. So I'm just going to glue this onto here. And some of you that are eagle-eyed might have noticed that the piece of black cardstock that I'm using on the back is a little bit ropey, it's got a bit crushed. But because we've just got such a small border, then it makes it a really good piece to use on this because then it doesn't go to waste, but you're not going to notice that it's like a bit crushed to bits. So then I've got my scrap of basic white cardstock. I'm going to do another party hat. I only actually need one of those, it's just because I've just smudged the side of that a little bit. And then I'm just going to use this sheep again. And I'm just going to colour it the same way as I've been colouring all the others. So I'm just going to go and cut those out. Then I've just got a strip of black cardstock and I'm just going to heat emboss that same sentiment that we've been using through the whole video. So I'm just going to use my Memento ink. I'm going to use my white embossing powder. And now I can just melt that embossing powder with my heat tool. So I'm just going to layer that up like that. So let's stick all those bits down. And then I'm just going to glue this on. And then I'm going to glue his hat on. And then I'm going to pop it up on some dimensionals. And then there's our final card for today finished. So there are all of today's cards. I really hope that you've enjoyed today's video and it's given you some inspiration for working with the stamp set. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also send you notifications when I've got a new video up. All of the products that I've used for today's videos are linked in the description below, and there's also, so if you pop that into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.